Good. So I've called today from zero to hero, because I think you all can be superheroes. I think you already are, most of you superheroes, but we're going to really think about how we go from kind of zero to hero. And it's slightly different today because we got some of this is online. So we're going to introduce them in a minute online. And so the people that are online, and there's a couple of hundred or something, aren't destination people, they're events people. So we're going to do a little bit about sustainable events, and I'm going to share a kind of a framework for sustainable events with some case studies of sustainable events. And I think that's quite interesting, I think also for us, and it gets us thinking really about our work, which is to enable sustainable events for many of us and sustainable tourism for others. Then we're going to have a session which Jessica's going to lead with Keating and Pat and Peter about what these guys are doing. So they're going to share what they're doing. So I think that's really interesting. There's some great work, share some stories. And that started us to think. And then we're going to say goodbye to the online people. And then we're going to go to workshop. And I've taken all of the ideas of what you asked for yesterday, and we're going to do something called a pro-action cafe, which is a way of thinking in groups about different subjects. And so you will be able to choose the subjects that you personally would like to discuss more. So you can go to a table that is focused on engagement, or a group that's talking about communication, or someone that's talking about, I don't know, certification. So we'll look at those and decide on those later. Okay, so that's basically the idea. All right. Okay. Good. So you guys at the back have to tell me when we're online, okay? So then we can welcome everyone. Yeah, and then we have to be serious, okay? Okay, you got that? Does anyone understand me? Tell me when we're online. Okay. So they are Korean from other, the digital audience is from Korea. Yeah. Oh, they okay, great. Oh, fantastic. This is Zoom, I think, because you can record it. Okay, so we're on. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Where's my camera? I don't know. Welcome. We're delighted to welcome you here today. And this is the GDS Forum. It's really wonderful to have you here. We have a wonderful group of people. I hope you can see the people from another camera, and we'll make sure that you can. So we've been here working for the last couple of days, looking at sustainability, looking at regeneration, looking at resilience. And we've had a great time, haven't we? Okay, come on. So we're applauding you, our virtual audience. Thank you for joining us. And we're going to share some work with you today. So what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk a little bit about the Gds Index. We're going to talk a little bit about sustainability in destinations. We're going to talk a little bit about sustainability in events. And yeah, so we've got some great speakers here from Singapore, from Korea, from Thailand. Got some great other participants here from Japan. So please use the chat box to send us some messages so that we can have some interactivity from you and you can ask your questions. Same to our physical audience here. Please put your hands up. Let's keep it as interactive as it has been the last few days. And let's see if we can ask some questions and share some thoughts that we can involve you in, so we can still come back and bring you in. Okay, sounds like a plan? Sounds like a plan. Good, my clicker is not working. Can someone help me with my clicker, please? Don't you love that? As soon as you go online, things stop working. It worked all morning. Okay, well, that's all right. So, okay, let me go back. Let me have a test, because we did a lot of work yesterday. So we started to look at things like sustainability and the word regeneration. What is the difference between sustainability and regeneration? Graham!
Thought a lot about this last night, especially after Jessica's session about regeneration. And then with the legacy and impact discussion. So
Okay, we're just getting a microphone. Needs to turn it on. Turn up the volume. Turn up the volume.
Hello, hello.
Turn up the volume.
Hello, hello.
Okay.
Does that work? Okay, great. So, and I'd like actually kind of some feedback on this.
Yeah.
Just the thought. Okay, to me, regeneration, and Guy said this yesterday, regeneration is like an impact, but sustainability is the legacy. So, you know, sustainability is what we're working towards, and regeneration can be one of those tools that we can use in order to be able to get there. Resilience would also be, you know, I gotta throw that in there too, of course.
Yeah, they're like the outcomes, aren't they? Yeah. You know, so they are what's coming out of this. Great, great.
I like that idea of sustainability as a legacy.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we regenerate, we're improving, we're healing, right? We're making things better there. So resilience again. Okay, what's the difference between impact and legacy? Love it. Okay. Go on, Jessica, give us a bit more. Oh, you're on, you're plugged in.
Am I on? Oh, I'm on. I'm loud. The difference between sustainability and legacy. So I'm going to take this off as well.
That's better.
The difference really is legacy is very much going to be that vehicle or that mechanism that's going to help you to create impact. So impact is the change that is going to occur, and legacy might be that project, that program that you're going to undertake to ensure that impact happens.
And legacy is normally or often focused on the organization, right?
It is. And
impact's
always focused on the beneficiary, the people that are going to benefit from that project.
So the community in many of our cases,
yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So if it was like, let's say a corporate sustainability project.
Yeah.
Could be like a legacy project.
Usually, yeah, CSR projects always kind of fall into that legacy category because they are a project or a program. But what happens as a result of that program, that change that will occur in the community is going to be the impact.
Could be the impact, and that impact
Yeah.
be regenerative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Okay, next one. This is one for Graham. Okay, what are the 5 steps of developing a resilience plan? Now we see if anyone was paying attention. Was it 5 steps or was it 6 steps?
Well, I mean, we had three core areas.
Yeah.
There were 7 tools.
Okay. So anyone remember anything about those important steps? Who had a good memory from yesterday? Come on. Anyone remember? First one? Assessment. Okay.
Bing
First
bong.
thing is assessing, understanding what your risks are. Number 2.
Management.
Gabe, were you paying attention?
Management.
I was looking, I know I took a picture.
Management, yes.
Management. Was that 2 or was that 3?
That was 2. And the third one is maybe a little bit more difficult to remember. Adaptive capacity.
Adaptive capacity.
Adaptive capacity, the ability to be flexible, to, you know, change with, because no matter how well we plan, it never goes according to plan.
Yeah, exactly. What the military said in the Second World, you know, as soon as the war starts, the plans go to the chaos, right? You know. Yeah, exactly. So good. Okay, good. So we're going to look a little bit about destination regeneration or sustainability. We've learned some interesting things, that regeneration is a word that doesn't translate to all languages. We heard that engagement doesn't translate to all languages in Asia. And we heard storytelling doesn't translate to all languages. My favorite one, storytelling, which seems to me in Japanese comes out more at telling lies, which I think is pretty fair half the time. So good. Okay, so we're going to have a look a little bit about this journey of regeneration, and we're going to explain a kind of steps. It kind of brings a little bit together, and I think we're going to pull up nicely on this with the sessions with Pat Keating and Peter. So there's a kind of a journey to sustainable destination development, and a bit like the framework for what Graham just talked about. It starts with this discovery phase where we need to map and understand what we have in the destination. Every destination is doing a lot of stuff on sustainability these days. There are NGOs and there's the government and there's city initiatives. So the first thing as a DMO professional, or even as if some of you are out there in the PCO world to understand what is happening is just look out and start to map out. And I think for the DMO, it's really super important that DMO actually does kind of surveys and questionnaires to really start to work out and almost map it out as like a Google map, what's happening in your community. Part of that discovery, we think the GDS Index is a great tool to help you do that. And Jessica's just about to explain that to those of you who don't know it. Then we need to start to engage or connect with our stakeholders. And we talked a lot about this yesterday, and Gabe and David talked about this and how we need to, meet, talk, listen to, and create participation with lots of different stakeholders. So not just our industry, not just our municipality, but with the media and with our citizens and with the NGOs and with lots of different other aspects. And I remember David yesterday sharing this long list of people that he'd involved in your stakeholder program. And you can do that online and you can do that physically. You can have a wide engagement and you can have narrow engagement. So using task force and focus groups. And those, we really see those gaining a lot of energy now because there's kind of a levels of engagement. Some people call engagement when you just talk to them. Look, I'm engaging them because I'm telling them, right? And that's the bottom level. The next one is you tell them something, but then you ask them something, right? So you're listening to them. So that's the next level. Then there's another level where you ask them to kind of engage and co-create. So maybe we do a session like we have here today, and we ask our stakeholders to give us ideas and co-create the strategy for our destination. But this also, for you online, if you're a PCO or any other type of supplier, this could be your strategy. You can co-create with your stakeholders your strategy. So we start like that. But that doesn't stop there, because then there's another level, which is this kind of governance of the program, which is the ongoing input into our strategy. And some destinations today actually even involve their residents and other stakeholders in their budgetary process. So there's a part of the budget that is actually decided on by the residents. And so that's the kind of true democratic participation, we'd call that. So yeah, so that's the next step. Then co-create, I've just explained. And then that's good, you have a nice strategy, but then you have to go and implement it, right? So you go and implement it, and we start to have to build capacity. So Keating will be talking a little bit of how they've created a strategy. Now they're building this capacity, they're educating, they're creating tools, accelerating innovation. There's lots of areas around building capacity, and we'll look at that. Then we have to tell our story, right? We have to storytell, or maybe communicate, is the word we're going to use today. And so, in the old days, it was the destination, the DMO, that used to tell the story. Nowadays, that's changed, right, David? We have to curate the story more than anything. It's our stakeholders are the best people to tell the story. And so how do we guide that? How do we kind of create some type of theme to the story, but we get other people to tell it? And there's great new solutions out there in the market, such as things like Crowdrift, if any of you have ever seen that. Amazing solutions to get other people to tell your story. And, if you do all of that, you may get to a point, whether you're an organization or a destination, that you can get to the end, which is you're actually really starting to create results. You're catalyzing regeneration, you're catalyzing resilience, you're catalyzing positive impact. So there's more jobs. You're rebuilding the nature systems, your ecosystems around you. You're helping maybe solve poverty, tackling maybe some human rights. And this, it sounds crazy. And if I'd said this 5-10 years ago, people said, well, you can't use tourism to do that. Well, you can. You can use tourism. You definitely can use events to challenge big city, country community issues and fix them. So that's the kind of the journey. And maybe at one point, if you're there, you decide that certification is the right plan for you. We recommend that in most instances, but not always every instance. Yeah, it's a journey. So we're going to delve through that in a bit more detail. But first of all, we would like to talk to you and share with you a little bit about the GDS Index. And there's quite a few people in this room here who know a lot about it, and some people know nothing about it. Over to Jessica.
All right.
Maybe just introduce yourself, Jessica.
Yeah,
for
good
our
morning,
audience.
everyone. My name's Jessica. I'm one of the senior change makers that works for GDS Index. I am based in New Zealand, while the rest of the team is based around the world. So it's fantastic to be here because I actually represent Asia Pacific specifically. So I'm going to share a little bit about the GDS Index. How many destinations do we have in here that participate in the index? Put your hand up. Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, so the GDS Index, for those that weren't here yesterday, as I talked about, it's a destination performance assessment for sustainability. And it's a really great tool for destinations because what it's going to do is it's really going to help you to understand what your sustainability baseline is, how you can grow and improve year on year. And if you are thinking about future certifications, it's a really great tool that you can use on that journey as well, because it's going to prepare you for any future assessment or certification. There's 4 main categories in the GDS Index. One is environmental performance, one is social performance, one is supplier, and one is destination. These are aligned very closely with the UN SDGs and also aligned with GSTC destination criteria as well. The reason the GDS Index is a wonderful tool is because it provides us with a whole lot of data and insights, and it provides you as destinations with some fantastic knowledge as well that you can use based on your performance as well. We have a tool called Omni, which is where we enter all of the data. And what this tool does is it allows us to really get a sense of your positioning and where you're at. And it looks at your overall performance based on the 4 categories where you've entered this information. What it does as well is it gives us a bit of insight into how you're going against some of your regional peers as well as some of your global peers. And from that data, once the assessment is finished, then we can analyze your performance and provide some insights to you on some strengths and opportunities for your future performance as well. Gabe. I'll get you a mic first. Sorry.
It's a quick question. Maybe you could just repeat it.
Sure.
When you're benchmarked against peers and competitors, are those other organizations that are participating in GDS Index?
Yeah, so it's other DMOs around the world. And we have, we've got quite a growing data set in Asia Pacific now, but primarily, yeah, you'll be benchmarked against global and also destinations in your region.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, so as I talked about, we look at some of the strengths and some of the opportunities for your destination, and then we provide some recommendations for the future as well. And then we will work with you on supporting you to potentially implement some new actions and activities that are going to help you achieve change in your destination. And of course, from the GDS Index, what that provides us is a whole range of best practices. Who is doing what around the world? It gives us some fantastic examples in a whole range of different areas that we can then share back with each of the destinations. So if we identify an area or an opportunity in your destination, we can put forward a whole range of other best practices to provide you a bit of insight into what's happening in other destinations and how you might be able to evolve what you're doing as well. And the other thing is that it really helps drive destination performance. So we provide a lot of this data and insights once we've done your assessment year on year. And what we'll do is we'll give you some insight into some of the top performers, usually the top 20 or top 10 average, as well as the overall GDS index average against your own performance. All right, now I'm handing back over to Guy.
Okay, so any questions about the GDS Index? Anyone? Graham. So we started off how long has it been running was the question. So the project, it's a funny story, right? So the project kind of started when I had to do a project, the first project for Thailand in 2010 or something like that. Were you there then, Pat? What was that? Yeah, right. So when they asked me to do some comparisons, benchmarking. So I started to think about, well, how would we benchmark that? So we started to think of some ways to benchmark destinations. And then I had a project in Scandinavia. And I'd already been working with Copenhagen and Gothenburg to create their strategies. And the rest of Scandinavia was so interested, we ran a workshop like this with 15 different destinations. And at the end of that workshop in Scandinavia, they agreed to work together to create a sustainable Scandinavian meetings region. And then someone said, that's nice, but how do we know when we're there? You need a scorecard. Well, let's think, why don't I take what we did for Pat and create a scorecard? So we created a scorecard, which is 15 questions, and that was the start. So it started with Scandinavia, and in 2015, 16, we said it's time to take this global. This is really powerful. It really created change in Scandinavia, and look where the Scandis are today. You know, Gothenburg and Copenhagen are like 90% of 95% of the score. They've really been working hard at this. So we took that and we launched this in 2016. So, and you know, we had about 70 something cities actively benchmarked this year. A little down from last year because of COVID, but next year will be a massive jump. It'll be 100 plus.
So you've been able to sustain since that time just sort of the fees of different destinations.
Yeah, so it's kind of, people pay a fee to participate, and we've always tried to keep that fee very reasonable to get, and it's always been used as a catalyst to get people going. And that's really what it does. It creates I kind of look at it as like an operating system. You know, you have this kind of system that allows you to decide where do we need to focus on how well we're doing. It's kind of a dash, you know, more than a dashboard, I think. So, but don't know. Anyone else? Keating, you just started on this journey. I'm interested. What's it like for you to go through, you know?
Okay, so I joined the team, the MICE team in STB a year ago. So once I joined, they roped me into GDS. I was like, what's GDS? And they're like, 71 criteria, what's that? So it was a very daunting experience, I must say. It was a bit overwhelming at the start. Thankfully, I have a team. So we split up the criteria amongst the two of us to slowly overcome and conquer and divide, right? So yeah, and it involved a lot of data gathering from our stakeholders, even outside of STB, together with other government agencies. So, and a lot of, proof points. It took us long, but it was a very enriching experience altogether because it really helped us to understand where we were at. And then it also helped us to zoom in on gaps that we could see and that we should improve on moving forward. Yeah.
Great, thank you. It is not, you know, it does take work. It's not an easy thing to do, right? It's not, you know, first of all, it's not someone going and you know, taking data off the internet and giving you a score like a lot of these sustainability indexes are. So I know now that data is not reliable and varies and is not comparable. So many of these systems of tourism comparison, I really don't believe in, because I know it doesn't work for us when we've tried to do that. So this is about people taking a lot of time to find the right data, put the data into the system, and then our team really analyze it and make sure it's accurate, it's correct, and I wouldn't say trustworthy, because I don't think we've ever seen anyone try to fool the system, but we've seen many people put the wrong data into the system. And so we, you know, and it's not an audit, it's an assessment. It's about helping people get the data together and use that data. Pat.
Yeah, I have another perspective of the GDS index to share. For Bangkok, of Thailand, I have to speak on behalf of Thailand. We sort of like were in the developing process together, and also we've been together with the GDS all along. For Thailand, we're looking at the GDS index, not as the competing platform. It's not, we're not there to get score or to get to being benchmark only. Of course, we have to do that. But I would like to throw this on the table that what if you look at the GDS index as the area where you can get the information to improve what you have, the strategy, what's the gap. To us, the GDS index, the team and the advice or the suggestion that they feedback to us, it's so valuable. It's so high value than the score that we get, because this is really helping us. It's sort of like a brain to us, another brain for us to have a look in where we need to be improved, or where can we get more information, or what we've done good and we should communicate it out, something like that. So back to yesterday, getting healthy.
Yeah.
And then we'll get boyfriend. Good score. So GDS index is sort of like the fitness to us that get us in shape, get us.
And that's
healthy.
really good. I've always said that, you know, the GDS index is like going to the gym.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you don't want to go to the gym, do you? Right? Or sometimes you go to the gym and you look at it and you do one exercise and, oh, I'm in a rush. I've got to go, got work to do. Well, the GDS index is like the trainer. It's like, come on, guys, you've got to do your exercise. And you don't do it once in every few years, you do it every year. Right? And so there's a discipline to it. And that's what creates the magic, is the discipline, like going to the gym. And as Pat said, you know, sustainability, like if you do a good sustainability plan, you get healthy, your destination gets healthy, and beautiful destinations get beautiful partners, right? So you get the boyfriend. Good. Okay. So we know it works. The figures shows us that it works. But I think the key thing is I migrated the GDS Index as a brand in 2019 to the GDS Movement, because we saw that we were creating this movement for change. And the magic is when we get people like you together from the destinations that are working on this stuff, and you start sharing, and it's that movement of change that is beautiful. So Graham, there's one there.
Yeah, sorry, too many questions.
The GDS is not a certification, but do you see it as sort of the way for a destination to be able to then more easily be achieving a certification, for example, an Earth Check or a GSTC?
Yeah, so we created it as an accelerator towards, that was one of the concepts, because people were so far away from certification and they weren't doing certification because it was so far ahead of them and it was so expensive. So this was a way to kind of get you going. And once you've done this, you're at 70%. Well, it depends where you are. Once you're at the kind of the top, say 20%, you're probably 70% of the way, 80% of the way towards certification. So it's an accelerator. And who knows, maybe the GDS does become a certification in the future.
Sorry, I know you've got a lot of slides you want to get through. Could you just speak to who it's for in terms of the size of the destination or the CVB, and where they are in their sustainability journey?
So it's a good question. So you can, it works for everyone. We have mega cities. You know, we have people like Washington, DC or Lima. And we have small places that we're working with David. It actually works for big and small. And what I've always been surprised is that the innovation or the best practices come from everywhere, right? At least every city has one thing they do amazingly, I believe. At least one thing. And a little city can learn from a big city, and a big city can learn from a little city. You can translate those best practices. So it works for everyone. The GDS also has been designed to work for people that are starting. So working with someone like Budapest at the moment, who's at 0. right? They did the GDS index. I think they'd be, all the way at the bottom this year because they don't have anything, right? But now they know they don't have anything. Through the process, we've identified some things. Belfast is a great example. We started with them. They were last but bottom. And when they now in a year, they went from 0 to number 19th in the thing, and they would be even higher this year. So we can work for anyone. We work with Singapore. We just started working with Singapore. Singapore are actually one of the leaders in Asia in terms of sustainability and the work they were doing. But the sustainable tourism and events program is beginning. So they're, I think, kind of in the middle space, but very quickly going to go really good. So we have a tool now that will track and show that improvement over time as everything they're working on will become a reality. And I think it's important, this journey. There is a journey to sustainability. And I was just going to show this chart. If my clicker started working. Can anyone help me? Can you advance the slide for me, please? I don't know where. Oh, we're back. Okay. So there is different phases for destination or organization. I've worked in consulting organizations, not just destinations. And often when you start up, some of you will be starting up and you're in this startup phase and it's all fantastic. And it's typically a volunteer. So it's kind of San is at the moment is there kind of volunteering. It's a little bit of his work. And then Peter's looking at, how do I give him, how do we take this to the next level? So at some stage there will be a kind of that volunteer will actually have a percentage of their time dedicated to sustainability. And that's typically someone from the organization who's upskilling. Right? So maybe it's someone like Pat, who started as a volunteer and now is full-time sustainability. Right? So, but often in this kind of space, it starts to be integrated through the organization, but it's often still siloed. We have a sustainability department, but maybe it's not in every department. Ultimately, you go to the next stage where it's empowered in your organization. And this can take 5 to 7, 8 years to happen. And so if I go to someone like Copenhagen, they have a VP of sustainability. It's a professional of sustainability with a master's or a PhD in sustainability. There's a team, and that team empowers all of the other departments, and every department has their own sustainability champions and programs and plans. So whereas I might go to somewhere in Asia and I sit down with this champion, I go to Copenhagen when we do the review every year, it's 23 people in a room. Everyone has projects. It's part of their DNA, part of their business model, part of their funding models. So there's a journey, and you don't have to do everything at once, and you won't do everything at once. You have to start to think about this journey. Okay? Yeah, please.
As you know, I like to go on and on and on about stakeholder engagement because I think it's the most important thing that we need to do. But I love this model here. Basic stakeholder engagement. We can't get started without it. We have to talk to our communities about the GDS index. And we're in a program with you right now. Your first question is, how are you going to get the data from the city? Who are you going to work with, et cetera? So he's forcing us as a DMO in one of our projects to make that engagement. But the next step is further partnerships, not just internal, but external partnerships with the cities, et cetera. The advanced model is embedded and empowered partnerships. And I just want to reinforce that point about engagement. As DMOs or CVBs, we engage all the time on marketing programs. We have to bring that same focus of inclusivity here. But I love the fact that from startup to empowered, it's engagement, engagement, engagement. And I'm going to make that point over and over, probably for the next 10 years, because I think it's the one thing we can do. When I first started talking to GDS Index about doing it, your real questions were, how are you going to do this? And we assured him as a destination organization, we're going to do the engagement. And that's the hard part. That's the hard part for us. The easy part for us is relying on the intelligence and knowledge of the index, because that's the part we don't know about. But this is the part that we have to own. We have to own the engagement piece up front. And then the GDS Index comes in and helps us with what we don't know.
Well said. I like that. And that's really, yeah, it's great ways. Okay, we had some questions. That's good. One more, Waking. Do we have a?
I actually wanted to kind of like, wanted to get from Pat and then Quentin about like when you guys start up. Actually, I have two questions. Can I?
Okay.
Number one is that did your kind of like includes internal? We talk about engagement. Did you launch anything in the organizations like between TSAP and then also like STB? What are the kind of like program internally that get everyone walk to the same direction? That's one. Number two, just when we talk about data collections, what are the key challenge that you have?
Thanks, Mikey. Maybe I can start. Yeah, so when we embarked on the journey, right? So to answer your first question, how do we get the whole of STB, other departments buy-in? So we started off with getting our senior management concurrence and alignment that we are doing this exercise and why we are doing this exercise. So we have our senior management comprises our chief executive, you know, our deputy chief executive and things and people like that. So they meet once every week. So we say we have an agenda for you. Now, this is what we want to do. And then we get their concurrence and the buy-in, which they did and they agreed. So with that blessing from the top, then we next gathered all the departments, the different line units in STB to come together. We did a briefing for them to tell them what is the GDS about, like what does it mean for them and why are we doing this? And then what are the support and the help and the data that we need from them? And things just flowed from there and the momentum just gained, and then everyone knows why we're doing it, and the data and the information then came in naturally after that. Yeah. Your second question was about the challenges. I think because some of the initiatives are not necessarily run by STB, because in Singapore we have other ministries and other agencies that looked in at say FMB, for example. So it's really finding the right person, finding the right agency who is doing that particular part of things. And then identifying them would really take some time. And then once you reach them, they would also take a bit more time to dig out from the archives to give you that data. So of course, then you need to plan ample time for you to really conduct this exercise. Yeah.
Good. So let's leave it there, I think. So I think it's a journey, you know, and whether you're at position 50 or 70 or 2, you're a leader. Because how many, there's 12, 1,300, 1,500 destinations around the world. We still have a minimum amount of people have a real serious focus on sustainability. So I'm immensely proud of the bottom one as I am of the top destination working on this, because it takes a lot of effort and it makes a change. It makes a difference.
Sorry.
Okay, one more and then we need to move on.
Yeah. So like not every CVB or DMO can afford a team for sustainability, like a division. What are your suggestions like from other divisions, like which division you think that they can play a role, a closer role to, well, to embark or to kickstart or to champion? Okay.
I think the first response to that is a CVB or a DMO cannot not afford to do sustainability. It is not optional anymore. So that's a funding challenge. It's not a decision challenge. It's a funding challenge. So you need to start often with your volunteer to get going, right? And you need to find someone passionate in your team to start you to get there. You need to engage your CEO, as we've done here with David, and or the chair or the president of the board or whatever. And you need to start to look at what are other people doing. And then you need to build up your business case and present that to the board and say, look, we need money. You know, every other destination around us is doing this. Our community wants it because our surveys tell us. Our government is committed, our city is committed to climate change or social sustainability, and we are a weak link in that system if we're not doing it. So it's about putting that business case together, and I've never had that rejected once we've got the business gaze together. These days, people now like Singapore, come up to this and say, we've got to do this, we've got to do it properly. And so we get a lot more of that and people coming in, and we start with a GDS index and we do a whole strategy behind that. And in the States, for example, now we're seeing a lot of that coming in, really massive projects. Whereas in the past, we maybe, well, let's start with a bit of benchmarking and let's see. Yeah. And that's, now it kind of blows me away. I got an RFP today for a project, for a destination, $5 million. And that kind of shows, this was for a big state in the US, but a $5 million consulting project. And that kind of shows you how this is serious now, and governments really need to get their stuff together. Okay, wouldn't you like $5 million just for a consulting project? Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go super quick on this because we're running late. Okay. So yesterday we talked about this market, this shift had happening, and you can kind of feel it in the room, right? So we talked about kind of, how either in tourism, if you look at the booking.com figures or our figures, the shift is happening. Event professionals all around the world are starting to think about this, and they know it's important. So we know it's important. Yet the reality is most of organizers don't have a sustainability plan. The guys here, we're working with here, they know that it needs to do it, but they're not practiced or super skilled in it. So we need to get better, right? I mean, we need to get to better. But there's some other things that do it. We also, as well as having to get better, we have to talk about it much better. 7 out of 10 hotel and sustainability initiatives are never communicated. When I worked for MCI, one of the world's largest event management companies, my team always used to say, and we had 2,800 event planners, our clients never ask for it. It was the bloody question I always get. You've heard that, I'm sure. But then I went out and I surveyed my clients. I said, how many of you have actually had a conversation with our staff about sustainability? And the first time it came back as 9%. So then we went back to our team and said, how do you know? You've never spoke to them. You don't know they're not interested because you've not had those conversations. So as destination professionals, PCOs, suppliers, organizers, we need to have those conversations. I'm sure many of you have been in this place. 70% of travelers are totally overwhelmed. They want to travel sustainably. But where do you go? Where do you look? How do you start? How do you know it's true? So as DMOs and as event organizers and event professionals, we have to simplify. We have to make it much easier. 60% of travelers want more sustainable information from our providers. When I did this in the events industry, it was 90% of event organizers, the clients, the corporates and associations wanted more information. They need help. So there's a massive opportunity. There's a massive opportunity. And because this shift is happening, I did some work a couple of years ago where we really started this thinking about regeneration. And I did it with IMEX, and Marriott generously sponsored the work. And I'm just going to share rapidly a little bit of this thinking. And I've kind of simplified it somewhat to go quicker, and I think to work more in an Asia Pacific environment. So we call the framework Hanawa. And Hanawa is really around these principles for thinking how you organize sustainable events. So it's a lot about from a real design stage, from the first moment, how do you design out waste and pollution? Carbon emissions is pollution, right? The chemicals we use to clean the floors in a lot of our places is pollution. Waste is the leftover from the stage sets, right? And the brand displays. So you can design out about 70 to 80% of the waste of an event at the first stages before the event has even happened, by really thinking how you build stuff and what you build it from. So, a lot of people start sustainability once you actually turn up and everything's built. And then you start to think about how do we recycle stuff? And that's good. How do we recycle? How do we reuse things? That's really important. That's the kind of second step, but it's got to start the design phase first. Likewise, we're working on more environmental things. We can design in more social sustainability, diversity, equality, inclusion, Again, that has to start from the beginning. Who do we invite? Where do we organize the event? What's the price of the event? Are all important factors that change the social sustainability of the event. And then lastly, how do we then, through this process, regenerate natural systems? Natural systems, nature. We are nature. Nature is not just the trees outside, it's us. So when we talk about regenerating natural systems, we have to design an event that is fun, dynamic. We have light, we have good food. And so we're regenerated. And then we think about how do we look after the planet and regenerate natural systems. So after this event, it is better than before. You know? So if we fly in like we did today, we need to measure our carbon emissions and make sure we invest those in projects that will regenerate nature to the equivalent or ideally more than what we've taken away from it, because that's the concept of regeneration. Please, David.
I'm very interested on phase one, design out waste and pollution. Could you just give us some practical examples?
Yeah, I will actually. Yeah, so just hold that question and I'll come back to that. So there's a kind of a process here, and I don't think it's any different than what we talked about for destinations. You know, we have to start to engage the value chain. There's a key word, value. You could say engage stakeholders there. Value for me is suppliers, it's the clients, it's your bosses. So it's the bigger bigger stakeholder chain. We have to map our resource flow. We have to understand what we're using and we're not using. And you can do this before the event. Pat later will talk about a brilliant tool she uses that can model carbon emissions of different actions. And so we have a similar tool we use. So we can tell you if we organize the event in Cairo or in London, what the difference will be. We can tell you if we have, like we got rid of plastic bottles in the room here and we've got cups. Pat's tool can model that, our tool can do that. So you can start to make decisions on your resources. Resources is money, it's people, it's materials, right? Then we can bring that into your defined strategy. And it's not linear, it kind of goes around here. So you define your strategy, you can then redesign the brand experience around designing out waste and creating this energy. You can regenerate people and nature through food. Food is such a key aspect, especially here in Asia. We can do actions to reduce our carbon emissions and change mobility systems. We can regenerate and empower communities. So this is very much on the impact area. How do we use the event to create social impact? And then lastly, with any type of impact program, you've got to collect data. So there's a process here, a Hanover process. So let me give you just a few examples really quickly. So I worked a lot with IMEX, and IMEX is an amazing event that has achieved, it's a trade show for those of you who don't know it, in the States and in Frankfurt. And it has achieved things like 100% of the emissions are offset. I think they're at 98% of the waste now is diverted away from landfill. And they've only got that, this team spirit. So they really act like a team of superheroes. They consider their suppliers, their sponsors as part of a family, and they work really closely, co-creating everything and working really closely together. So then I wanted to do a presentation with all the different suppliers and stakeholders to present the work, and it came to me that they were superheroes. So we did this thing of superheroes, and there's me as Elvis in Vegas now. So, but that's key, that team spirit. So not like you're my supplier. No, you're part of the team. And I think that mindset change is key. So you can engage from there, you can start to engage your value chain. You've got to bring it into your procurement processes. You've got to bring it into your the way you manage your clients and your suppliers and your sponsors. It becomes really, really key to that. Certifications can help you. Then when you start to look at your strategy, you know, you can't do everything. So when you start, you know, start to look at what are the goals of my corporate or my client, depending on what side you're at. If you're a PCO or a DMC, you know, what are the goals of my client? So if I'm working with SAP or Sitting a Second, their goals is climate neutrality and waste neutrality. What's in your control? What can we do as an event team? What can we change? And some things you can, some things you can't. What are your strategic optics and what are your plan? So I'll use this. This is SAP, right? They have 0 carbon as a goal. What can we control? We're the event team. We control the event team, the agency, the food, venue, and production suppliers. We can't control the delegates because they're clients, but we can influence them. So sometimes you can control, sometimes you influence. Then we set up some strategic objectives, and then we create an action plan. So that strategy turned out into this. So we wanted to set up SAP to be an enabler. We used the events to enable sustainability from their clients. At the same time, we wanted the event to be an exemplar, to lead by example. They had to use almost their own events to engage their own staff, to convince their staff that SAP is a world-class sustainable event. And then we set up some pillars of action here. So this is what the big corporates are doing now. The big associations are starting to work on projects like this. And one of these things that people are starting to look at is zero. Pat will talk about this in a moment. How do we get to net zero? You know, and net zero is about taking where we are today with all our emissions made up of all these things down to zero, right? That's what it's about. And that requires a lot of different things and a lot of energy. So we have to start to think on a much more strategic long-term basis how we're going to get there. And that's going to take a lot of action, right? And as you can see, as an event organizer, we're relying on airlines and hotels and destinations, a lot of people on a journey. So that's going to require us to start to think about what we eliminate, what we reduce, what we replace, and what we remove. And have you noticed down here, remove, this is the carbon offsetting. It's down here, it's not up here. We have to change and eliminate our emissions. I'm going to go through this quite quickly because we don't have a lot of time. So let's think about designing out waste here. So let's go back to that model we had over here. So as you know, if I let me think of something, right? So if I design this stage set, if I, in most countries, design that with lots of curves and arches, it would need to be made from plastic. Most plastic is you'd use for that is not very easily recyclable. Okay. At the moment, if you make that out of harder lines, like it is there, you can make it out of a kind of an eco cardboard or a Falcon board. Okay, much cheaper, much easier to recycle, and is made from materials. In this one, we actually did the same principle, but we made all the boards from recycled plastic that was collected from beside the conference center. This is the conference centers at the Excel in London, which is next to the Thames. So you're bringing in a story there as well, right? You bring in the story of collecting the waste from the neighborhood, and then you tell a story. So you can do this on a micro level. This is a very small stand, but we've done this for massive stands and massive events. And we can take one software company I work with. We did an event, 2,000 people, and that event created about 80 tons of waste. Okay. I'm not sure if you know, 80 tons of waste, that's equivalent of 88 Mini Coopers. Who's got someone had just got a new Mini Cooper here today was telling me, Pat, right, okay, she's got an E Mini Cooper, so 88 of those is equivalent of 80 tons. By working with them in 2 years, we took it down to 1 ton of waste, 1 Mini Cooper, just through redesign. Yeah, so that's, you know, so that's, you can actually do phenomenal amount of change, right? And so here's some of the things you can get rid of, right? You know, we're changing our board, we're getting rid of carpets, we're changing our stage sets. And this is getting much easier. This used to be so difficult because there was no suppliers, it was really expensive. Supply and demand, as there's more demand goes up, supply goes up, and price comes down. And, you know, Falcon board now is cheaper than a lot of the plastic solutions, and it's better. So, you know, and when you start to look into this, this is complex. So you have to start to really build a relationship with your suppliers. There's good, there's bad, and ugly in materials. You know, polystyrene, PVC is an evil subject, right? It's contaminating to make, contaminating to recycle and destroy it. You know, but then there's perfect stuff down here, but sometimes this is too expensive or you can't get it. And so you have to go in a middle space. And that's the journey. The journey is about progress and not perfection. So, we know it's about our recycling bins. We got our recycling bins here, but it's not just about putting the recycling bins. It's about putting them in the right place with the right signage. We know from neuroscience and research now, a recycling bin works better if it's at this height, it's got words and a picture, okay? We know that. We also know that if it's more than 50 feet away, people will go to, and there's another bin, there's a normal mixed bin, they will put the stuff in the mixed bin. But if it's within kind of 10 meters, people will walk 10 meters. So there's a lot of data now, neuroscience data about habits that we can learn from. So you need to start to learn that, unfortunately, and bring in suppliers who can help you understand that. We know we need to communicate. Every time we've done research for event participants, they always say, we're interested to know what is happening at the event. The event organizers always say, oh, they never ask us. It's like, well, you haven't asked them. So you've got to communicate and you've got to find the touch points. So there's lots of touch points, isn't there? There's a touch point when we walked in this room. There's a touch point when I go to the toilets. Toilets are one of the best, most powerful places to communicate, right? Back of the door, in front of the urinal, they're really great places. Registration areas, food areas. So how do you communicate and tell things? Best stories are with data and a face. Got to make it human, and you've got to give it a data point. Food. We love food, and we know that we've got to make the food system better, right? So we use something called FLOSS. Been using this for a long time. It's about buying and serving food that's fairly made and produced. There's more local, more organic, more seasonal, and more sustainable. Again, this is not about having 100% organic food in your menu. That in most places is too expensive and too difficult today. But we can have, the mangoes could be organic, right? The juices could be organic. That could be a great start. Our tea bags could be fair tradely sourced. Different parts of the year, I'm sure here in Korea, you can get 70, 80, 90% of the food locally. In Thailand, we can get 100% of the food locally. And we've done that many times, haven't we, Pat? So, there's lots you can do. Getting local food in Amsterdam in December is pretty difficult. There's not a lot glows there. So you have to play with this, right? And measure it. But as Pat was doing yesterday, we have to tell the story of our food, right? And educate people on why we're trying to take this shift. So that's about communication. So at IMEX, they did the shift from normal burgers to the Beyond Beef burger, so a vegan burger. And so they communicated the impacts of less water, carbon emissions, etc. Likewise, we need to tell people the story, right? If we switch from serving beef to switching vegetables, look at the difference in carbon footprint. So how do we get that into the messaging so people understand? I find people are prepared to make good decisions if they understand why. These days in Europe and the States, we're progressively having more and more vegetarian only dinners and events. And that might start with one day or one meal, and often then it goes to 3. One thing I've learned is never tell them it's vegetarian. Just serve fantastic food that doesn't have any meat in it. And we've all learned that, right? And oh, it's fantastic. And then you say, oh, it's vegetarian. Oh, I don't like vegetarian food. Well, is that why your plate is empty? So, we've learned that, right? There's a lot we can do with food waste, etc. So we can get rid of plastic bottles. We can get rid of single-use items. That stuff. This is not difficult. Most of this is about mindsets. But these are systems that exist in hotels and venues, and we've got to change the system. So it means being a pain in the ass. Like when I walked in here yesterday and we had plastic water bottles, we said, please, can you get rid of them? Can you give us cups? So you've got to be annoying. And that's what we're good at, right? Some of us, but you've got to be at this. I think that the simplest thing we can all do is rethink mobility. Who hates getting on a bus to go from the hotel to a venue? And who really hates when you finish the venue and they say, oh, we're going to take you on a social evening now. We're going to give you a little treat. And you're going to wait for an hour on the bus till everyone gets on the bus. We hate that, don't we? It's awful. Our time is too precious. I'm too tired. I've been locked inside. So let's design our events next to our hotel, next to our activities, next to our dinners. We can do that. I mean, Pete's done a fantastic job this week. We've walked everywhere. It's been wonderful. You can come when you want. You go when you want. You see stuff. It's so much better. Lastly, and this is kind of some of the real regenerative stuff now. We can start to really think how we involve the communities. So I did an event for Booking.com, big event. It's their big annual event, like 10,000 people. It's wild. It's like a festival fiesta for 4 days. And they really like a big brand design, really quite amazing design. They build stuff in the convention center. And we're like, how do we do that different? So we went, one of the team said, could we involve some of the refugees? So we went to 2 refugee camps and spoke to Syrians and Ukrainians and people like that. And we saw that there was architects, there was engineers, there's designers, there's these brilliant people that are really screwed right at the moment, right? They're really in a bad place. They're feeling down, they don't have work. So we asked them, would you be prepared to come on and work? So we brought them into the team and they designed mind-blowing designs, world-class interior design architecture. Shame I don't have the pictures here. Yeah, and we gave them hope and we got them, they got something on their CV. They could go back, they could talk, they had fun, they got fed, they got some economic rewards out of this. So you can do that. This is, where has he gone? Michelin star chef. And we've decided to kind of take on mainly Ukrainian people, train them up to become world-class chefs. And it's a new catering company. And it's launched now in Switzerland, Germany, France. Awesome. So regenerating communities is coming back to this DEI stuff. Gabe and Destinations International do great work on this. And this is something I love, this photo. This is the World Summit on women. And this is the keynote panel. Isn't that fantastic? And this is my favorite one, is like this, or normally it's when there's a summit on Gen Z and someone like me stands up to present about it. Come on, we need to get better at that. We need to get much better in the integration of our panels and our rooms and we need to integrate people from all different aspects of life, and that's going to make it richer and better. Yeah, and then lastly, once you've done all of this journey, you need to report. So you need to report on your events. There's great tools out there today. We use something called Trace from Isla. I've looked at 33 tools around the world for SAP, and this was by far the best one we've found. And so we use that. And it allows us to do pre, post, and during event management. It allows us to do measure and present on our waste. But there's lots of tools out there, and there's going to be a lot more coming out. I don't even think the big guys have really got into this space yet, and they will soon. So, and then you need to kind of report back of what you said you're going to do and what you've done, right? So, this is the SAP. We said we're going to have zero waste, zero emissions, zero quality. These are our goals. We've created a little traffic light system here, and then we explain exactly where we were at, So we've said we were going to have 50% of food is vegetarian. In the end, we only got 22%. So it's a red, right? So you've got to be honest, you've got to be humble, and you've got to be transparent. And that's the way we learn. And that's what the GDS Index is about, right? It's the reds and the oranges and the greens. So that's the kind of the footprint stuff. But as we were talking about yesterday, it's not just about footprints, it's about handprints. So we've got to get better at, measuring the social economic impacts, the different capitals that we can create. And you heard of financial capital. but there's natural capital, there's human capital. These are capitals we can create through events. So this is an event for SCR. I've organized this event a couple of times. I just realized that. And, you know, they, through this event, is about ecology and restoration. They've catalyzed renovations in parks and nature. They supported development of 3 ecosystem regeneration projects. They raised profile of organizations. So real impacts that go beyond the negative aspect, right? This is an AI summit. You know, this was created opportunities for professionals. It was hosted a trade delegation from India who later announced an investment of 18 million in local AI startups. Events are fantastic at creating this type of impact. So as Jessica yesterday talked about, we've got to get really good at measuring that, and we're crap at it. So that was the journey of Hanawa. I'm totally over time here. So that's the journey. I'll let you ask in questions, but there's a question people always ask me, is, yeah, it's nice, but it's really expensive, isn't it? It's too expensive, right? So here's one example. This is an SAP event that was run in China, India, States, and South America, 4 different events. And by renting furniture, we saved 13,000 euros. By eliminating bottled water, we saved 24,000. By reducing reusing carpeting, 86,000 dollars. We rented laptops and still bought laptops. And so we saved 217. We then invested in sustainability. We had organic food. We spent a little bit more on some of the signage, and that cost us an additional 131. So the net cost was an 86,000 saving. And that's what you've got to look at. You've got to look at the net cost. You will save things. 100% you will save stuff because you buy stuff you don't need. Unfortunately, some things are a little bit more expensive. But, you know, at home, I buy nice shirts. I could buy a cheaper shirt, but I like this shirt because it's comfortable, it fits me. I buy organic food because I don't want to put pesticides in my body. So we all make decisions in our life about spending more on some things. We all make decisions about saving stuff. So it's that net cost that's important. I've never done a sustainable event where I spent more money. It's my golden rule. Doesn't mean that all of the events are the most sustainable in the world. They're not. But for me, I never want to spend more on anything that kind of goes against my philosophy. So there's some amazing tools out there. There's a lot more. We're going to probably build on this later. Events Industry Council's got amazing checklists. ILA has an amazing set of checklists and tools, very different. GDS-Movement, we have our white paper. There's a trace measurement tool. Net zero carbon events is a great tool. There's billions of them. Pat's got some amazing tools. We worked on, there's some great tools in Singapore. I'm sure Peter's got some stuff. So there's some really good stuff out there. So let's hold that there. We're going to come back to that. Okay. So stop there for a second and breathe. Great.
Just a really quick 2 points for us DMOs also, and the organizers. One thing is, as the DMOs, what I'd like to convince you guys to do is walk your talk. We are here talking about sustainability in tourist and business events industry. So we have to walk our talk. So every single of our events, our own events, should be sustainable events, so that, you know, we're telling people to do it, but we don't do it. So that's one thing. And another thing is to the costs and, you know, the expense, and it's so difficult to do the sustainable event, to find different materials and so on. Once again, as yesterday I mentioned, sustainability is the area where responsibility and creativity meet.
Yeah.
So creativity helps you heaps helps you a lot to limit or reduce your cost. So sustainability doesn't have to be very high advanced technology, materials from outer space. It's not like that. If we have time later on today, I can share with you some of the examples that TCEP from TCEP's sustainable events. So these days, our 100% of the events in our department has to be sustainable event and lots of fun. We will, if we have time, we're going to talk about it. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
And brilliant. I totally banged on, and I think I love the work that Pat's done in Thailand. Thailand has many challenges in terms of infrastructure and stuff like that, but Pat has worked around all of those challenges and come out always with his creativity. Cool.
Also, just use your networks.
Use your networks, right?
Yeah, use your networks. I mean, PATA has learned so much from TCEP, and TCEP has helped PATA events team to do some great stuff. So use your networks.
Okay. Good. Okay. Let's move on, and we can come back to that in this room as well. And please, online, ask us some questions if you got any. We're going to move on straight into the panel, I think.
We are.
It'd be nice to have a rest, but we need to kind of keep up, and then we'll have a break after the next session. Okay. If you want to run out and grab a coffee and come back in, you're more than welcome to do that. Not our speakers, but go on then. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that, should I? So, yeah, that was a mistake. Okay, let's have a 5-minute break then. 5 minutes, please. 5 minutes. So you online, please. Back at 15:15. Okay, people, let's go. Let's rock and roll. Thank you. Hello, we're about to start again. Hello to you online. Nice to see you. So we're going to the next session. And this is okay. I'm going to go and stand over here so I can interrupt the conversation. All right, we're starting. Fantastic. That's really good. Excellent. I'm going to hand it over to the talented Jessica Randy here, who has our wonderful group. Can we have the screen on, please? And these are our superheroes here. Look at that. And they're even sitting in the right order.
They are sitting in the right order. We did well. We did well. All right, welcome back, everyone. So this session, we're going to be talking to 3 destination sustainability champions around their journey on sustainability and how they've gotten to where they are. So we do have some slides that we're going to be running through as well. But I'm also going to be asking some questions because I'm really keen to hear more about your journey. Obviously, Singapore, you've only just joined the index. Pat, you've been part of this for a long time. Peter, you've got some amazing strategy work that you've done, and we're really keen to hear a little bit more. So firstly, I'm going to hand over to Peter because he's got a bit of a presentation, so you can run through some of the slides. Tell us about your journey, Peter.
Okay. Oh, well. Thank you. It's a great pleasure to introduce what I've done so far. If I joined the 2016 Goyang City and we started sustainability about 2017, first job is to join the GDSI for the first time in Korea. You know that this lovely picture is not overseas, it's in my city. It's it's on the air. While we Goyang started sustainability, there is 2 main reasons. One is that everyone talks about the sustainability. Guy already told you about it. Sustainability is not an option, right? Everybody needs that. And when I host an international event, they always say, "What you have a plan? What's your manual?" So about the sustainability, that's the strong need on that. And another reason for is a kind of quite practical reason. Because that got kind of the strategical choice. Because we have the largest convention and experience center in Korea, but we are small. Because everyone know about the Kintex, but the people don't know about my city. So why? So what is the best way to increase our brandiness as a my destination? Sustainability. And the short funding and the great impact. That's a sustainability. That's why we try that. Adapt and sustainability. This is our journey so far. 2017, we joining a GDSI. Right now it's a change to GDSM, but the GDSI, we joined that at the time, the 2017 for the first time in Korea. And 2018, so we have the GDS, what's the most benefit for GDSM is we need to check out everything in 4 categories: sustainability side and social side and the supply chain side and CBB movement side. So I know where is a weakness side. So we can enforce that. We can increase the points of a GDSI point. That's the way we make a progress. So 2018, we got most improved destination award from a GDSI. That's first time in Asia. And also, in my knowledge, my city is the first city got awarded in the ICA General Assembly in Korea. And the second, 2019, we have another great meaningful award. That's a Korea First Green Mice Award at the Korea Mice Expo. Korea Mice Expo is the largest mice exhibition annually usually held in November. At the time is 2019 main theme of the Korea Mice Expo is green. So we made a whole booth with paper. So when you go down to the first floor of a Kintex, there is a Goyang Mice Service Center. We steal that is, the paper table, paper chair that was built in, made in 2018. So we got the first Green Mice Award. Since our 2020, we approached more strategically about the sustainability. So that's why at the time, we organized in kind of task force for the sustainability, composed as members, scholarship and the university students about sustainability, and venue and the stakeholder of the mice industries, kind of PCO and community, local community, and the local government, and myself. So this is a study of the Goyang Mice Sustainability Expert Committee. So we 2020 with that member, we started developing our sustainability standard strategy and action plan for 5 years with a GDSI consulting team. And that's why the desk in the behind that, there is a desk I mentioned. We used a recyclable plant in 2019. Okay, 2021 is, we got quite good result. So we passed the 60%. So I can show in later. And we also, 2021, we developed a sustainable mice business event manual for the organizer and the stakeholder. Then we included some beneficial point in our supporting system. So event organizer, they implemented our sustainable manual. We gave them a more point. That means get more money, supporting money from us. That will started in 2021. This is kind of our sustainability strategy. So vision, law, strategic direction, so action plan. There is only for 12 action plan. We got 3 pillars of sustainability: economy, environment, and society. And the goal is 12. Goal is 12, and the 50 action plan is on that side. So and that action plan has each action plan and goal has a KPI. So we need to achieve those goals into 2025. So right now we are tracking on to achieve the goals. And also this is kind of simple. You can download the whole sustainable event manual and our strategy on our website. Goyang Sustainable Event Manual, that's for 6 categories, like it's the facility and F&B accommodation, event, the transportation, like that. And then there is a second, the center, the right side, in the most left side is in our kind of basic 3 pillars of the sustainability. And the center one is our strategy. And the right side one is the UN SDG. So every single item of each manual, there is a showing up. This is a related of the sustainable UN SDG and then our strategy and 3 pillars. So you can figure it out. So you can judge, evaluate by themselves, which is good or which is important for us. This is our GDSM result. So let me show it in the overall. So 2017, we only got the 30%. So you know the 100% and 30%. Only we achieved the first year 30%. 2018 we about 50%, 48%. 2019 so we have 44, 54. The 2020 only 2% higher. The 50%, 56%. Most difficult for us is, the environment side and the social side is really related with our city capability. So cities got the sustainability environment. Our score is good, but the problem is infrastructure and DMO side. It's very hard to achieve and reach the point of. So, anyways, last year, 2021, our GDSM score. So environment 66%, society 70%, see that. Infrastructure still 50%, and the DMO side 56%. But the good thing is we passed the 60%.
You did.
You know the average of the Western countries, cities, average point is 61%. We reached almost that. So this year, I hope we have 2 judges in here, but anyway, so if you achieve in 65%, we can comparable in Melbourne, Bristol, Geneva, and Temple. It's amazing, right? We are small city, but with a GDSI point, we can compare those cities. This is power of GDSI, and we can continue. This is GDSM make grow, make progress our sustainability, at least 4 sides. Oh, really? Wow.
I had to tell them.
Okay, thank you for my guys, because frankly, Goyang CBB only 7%, including myself. So my staff, one of my staff, that cannot devote whole sustainability by himself. So he can do promotion, he can do website, web promotion, do everything. So it's very tough challenge for us, but we have a strong will to keep up. That's making happen. So this is what I'm doing so far. So since 2019, we haven't held a GDS AP forum. So that's why you came here. It's a great development also. And we, since last year, we do some with the community, Goyang MICE sustainability campaign. So with a stakeholder and some kind of alliance member and the community members of total 80 people, and some we put some fertilizer for the trees. Professor Huang also joined that. So for the winter, overcome the trees winter, overcome winter well. So, and also we right now is developing Goyang MICE ESG Sustainability Performance Index, right? So we are developing. So by that index, we can evaluate our scoring. And again, in business event side, we can measure and evaluate our performance in business event industry in Goyang. So actually, we tried an ISO 20121 for this year, but because of me, I failed to got the money funding for this year. So I'm trying next year.
For next year, yeah.
Okay, this is what I got so far. We do so far. Thank you very much for coming again. Thank
Peter,
you.
I'm hold on to your microphone. I'm really keen because you've been on quite a journey over the last few years and made significant improvements in a really short space of time. It's quite incredible just to see the progress that you've made. What do you think some of the biggest challenges for you have been on your journey?
Sustainability by himself. Sustainability really ambiguous, unclear sometimes. So that's why we make people know about the sustainability, acknowledge, make them understand what is a sustainability. When people mention about the sustainability, they only focus on the environmental side.
Yeah.
But that is not enough for the sustainability. That is most challenging one. And also small step and the huge job. Maybe one of my steps are here, but they don't like that, don't like me, and they don't like Guy too, because so much work.
A lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of, because each almost how many increase of 55 like something, 71. They every year increase that. So, but I need to submit the result, and I need result with evidence. That's quite challenging to occupy so because some of them data even city government don't have. So at the time I need to persuade in the city government, hey, we need to check, we need to monitor this through data.
Yeah.
Then we can then apply to the points, then we grow. That's kind of, but my bottom line for the sustainability Goyang, since I joined the GDSI, I just follow up the one basic rule. We're gonna faithfully follow the GDSI and benchmark and make a progress month. That's the bottom line what I got so far. So I'm gonna keep doing that. And some data we don't have so far. So we're gonna develop and monitor and find out the solution for that.
Yeah.
So but anyways, the challenge is sometimes manpower, money, but the solution also the will of to do that.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. It's wonderful to hear your journey and obviously be here in Goyang. Now I'm going to hand over to Chitang from Singapore, and this is their first year doing the GDS Index. And as we've heard from Peter and we've heard from you earlier, It takes, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. It's quite a journey, and it requires a lot of information. It requires collaborating with partners that you may not normally. It requires going to your local municipality or working with councils, seeking out information that you might not have had to have done before. So I'm really keen to hear a little bit about the Singapore journey, because Singapore has been known as a sustainable destination for many, many years. And the work that they've done around your water treatment, the work that you've done around this development of your plan, your green plan, really keen to hear a little bit more. So we've got a couple of slides on Singapore. So tell us firstly a little bit about your green plan.
I'm in the center. I need to move.
That's okay. You can move.
Yeah, no, I can say during this.
Okay, is this working?
It's
Can you hear
on.
me?
It's on.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks so much, Jessica. So yeah, we are, as you mentioned, that we have been known to be a very sustainable destination, but it all started a long, long time ago, because we all know Singapore is a very small country. We have very limited resources. And so what do? We have to look internally, right? We need to learn how to be sustainable in terms of relying on our people, doing urban planning and things like that. But I think in recent year, our efforts for sustainability on the tourism and on the MICE front have really accelerated. And it was only possible, as I mentioned just now, because we have higher management buy-in, and not just higher management buy-in, we also have the whole of government buy-in. Like we have a national sustainability agenda, which is our Singapore Green Plan. So we just launched it last year in 2021. So there are a few pillars, and we have key targets, including such as increasing our green spaces, reducing water consumption, reducing our waste, increasing our use of renewable energies, and being more resilient. Yeah. So, and then from the national agenda, right, then it really guided our work on the tourism front. Yeah. So then on the tourism front, next slide. Yeah. Yep. So we have come up with our Singapore tourism sustainability strategy, which we just launched this earlier in April this year. So in it, our vision is really to be a city in nature where large experiences comes with small footprint. So there are three strategic focus. So one is becoming a sustainable urban destination. We're going to make sustainability fun for our travelers and visitors. And number two is really building a sustainable tourism sector. Number three is really the storytelling, right? And we also became a member of GSTC, and we're actually in the midst of working to get Singapore certified, according to GSTC's criteria for a destination. So that's going to be a monumental work, yeah, which our team, our officers are really working very hard on at the moment.
I will just jump in there. Do you think your experience going through the index assessment has helped or is helping you on that journey to getting certified?
Yeah, for sure. Because I know that your criteria is also aligned with GSTC criteria. Yeah. So many of the criteria within the GDSI has definitely helped us in providing necessary information and proof points to get us GDS certified as well, GSTC certified as well. Fantastic. So it's definitely in the right direction. Yeah. So so following, I think, from our tourism sustainability strategy. So I think on the hotels end, actually in March 2022, earlier this year, a few months ago as well, we have launched a hotel sustainability roadmap. So there are like few focus areas as well on energy, on carbon, on local procurement practices, etc. And following suit, we will also, currently we are working on our MICE sustainability roadmap. So we have set up our MICE sustainability committee. You're hearing this for the first time, Jessica. Yeah. So it comprises of 30 members across different stakeholders such as event organizers, venues, suppliers, consultants, STB as well. And there are going to be 4 pillars. We'll be looking at measurement and certification. We're going to be looking at innovation, and we're also going to be looking at education. Yeah, and I think along with the tourism sustainability strategy, we also came out with our tourism sustainability program. So the program serves to actually support our stakeholders at any part of their sustainability journey. So again, there are 3 pillars to that. We look at capability development. So how do we help our stakeholders to develop their capabilities? We provide funding. So funding, it could be funding to get yourself certified through a third-party sustainability certification, or it could also be funding for training for the staff, because we recognize that, not a lot of people are very aware of sustainability yet, they're not sure. So we'll give them funding to send our staff, for training, to get them equipped with the knowledge. And then the second pillar is on innovation. So some of you might know that we actually have a tourism accelerator situated within STB. So we are working with, startup tech companies to develop sustainable solutions for tourism, including sustainability. Like we have worked with a startup, an AI startup. So we're going to use AI to actually track, measure, and identify food waste. So we are really just starting out. There's going to be more runs of the Tourism Accelerator where we will look forward to working with more startups to co-develop more sustainable solutions for the industry. And finally, the last part of the program is definitely on education and raising awareness. So it's really about gathering the resources, putting together tools which the industry can use. So on the screen here, you can see the 3R Mice Toolkit. So it's really developed for our event organizers to see how they can reduce, reuse, recycle, and to run a more sustainable event. So that's really just the start. We are really looking to work with our Mice Sesame committee to generate more resources and come up with more educational programs for the industry to elevate, their capabilities and knowledge on this front. Yeah, and we're also building a pipeline of sustainability related events in Singapore for sure. Yeah, and Singapore Green Building Week is just one of them, and we have many more to come. Which we will be announcing soon. Yeah,
fantastic, and you're really positioning, Singapore as this sustainable destination, not just for visitors, but for holding events there. And fantastic what you're doing. And the other thing that I really liked, and we talked a lot about communication and storytelling over the last couple of days, but communicating this back through case studies and best practice examples, you've got some fantastic examples of things that you've done as well. So really looking forward to seeing how you do in the index this year. I'm not going to disclose too much, but
wait till November.
It's an exciting time for the index because we've had Singapore join this year, and we're really growing our Asia Pacific presence. And I would very much love to see, our Asian destinations just really push some more out of the top 20.
And I think, sorry, if I could just add one more thing, I think we are also looking at grooming the next generation of sustainability leaders. We're talking to companies about how we can help them to groom, say, our chief sustainability officer. Like you always hear chief technology officer, but really we should be looking at chief sustainability officers moving forward. And in Singapore, we have more progressive MICE players, for example, Marina Bay Sands, Resorts World Sentosa. And then we looked at them and said, maybe we should facilitate some form of knowledge transfer, to really help our small and medium enterprises. So these are just some of the initiatives that we're really going to carry out in the next few years.
Fantastic, very exciting. Well, Pat, now I'm very keen to hear from you because we've heard a lot from Pat over the last couple of days, some amazing examples of the work that TCEB are doing. And really keen to hear a little bit more. You've got some slides as well, so I'll hand over the clicker to you. So let's run through some of those, and then we've got some questions for you.
I think I would just go for the journey.
See the slides, okay?
So my slides. The reason I'm here among these two amazing destinations is that TCEB is a bit different from because we put Bangkok into the index, but the TCEB task is for the whole country. We have 77 provinces that we have to look after, but in Bangkok, they don't have, as I mentioned yesterday, that cities in Thailand, they don't have their own CVB. So TCEB is sort of like looking after everyone. So TCEB started, so now I am going to talk on behalf of Thailand, not Bangkok, okay? So TCEB, we started to have dedicated team for, back then we call Green Meetings Project. The word sustainability was not there in our MICE industry in Thailand just yet. In 2008, almost 15 years ago, and the green team, or the green MICE team, which is the green meeting, was just a project under a a sector called MICE standard sector. And from then till now, we've been through a lot of ups and downs and different projects and different people. We are a bit different than the other cities in the index because since we started a bit early, so then back then we started from like swimming around in the ocean, nowhere to go, you know, we don't know where to go. We're swimming around, we started from doing stuff, doing projects, doing things first before the strategy. We didn't have strategy. And now it seems like we've done a lot of things, but we started to develop the solid strategy. It's sort of like working backward. So that's why we have a lot of examples, we have a lot of projects, but we are still, I have to accept that we still have to improve on the solid strategy and well-planned strategy. And we're working on it with Guy, with the GDS also. Our first era, let me call it era, it's the advocating era, the advocate era. Because back then, nobody, when I talk about green meetings, so they just lay the carpet in green and really, truth to be told, really, they didn't really understand what's the green meeting. And then we developed it until, you know, the second era is the time that we think, okay, they don't really get it. They know that, okay, green meetings, but they don't really get it. They don't know how to do it. So then we develop tools. We develop guidelines and so on. What Guy just presented, that's all in our tools. So we have guidelines, we have lots of support for MICE operators, organizers, venues, and other stakeholders to organize sustainable events, because we thought that, okay, if you want to create impact, if you want to create outcome and impact and legacy, it's not only TCEP can do that. So you have to be able to, you have to develop the capability of your operators, MICE operators to do it. And then it will be larger impact, so that we come up with the tools. Tools is not enough. Then we put the tools into courses, education courses. So we have, right now we have approximately 5-6 education courses about sustainability. So we come to the era of the education, and then along came the UN SDGs. So then we started to map the SDG, align what we have done. As I said, we work backward. So we started to map what we have done with the SDG and use the SDG to steer what we're going to do in the future also. And then we move forward to the standards time. We up level of their capability from knowing it, capable to do it, to the capability up to the standard. Again, we work backward. We started from international standard first. We didn't have our own national standard. We work on the international standard first, ISO 2012-1, 14,001, 5,001, blah, blah, blah. Then we face the difficulties that it's too difficult for our local operators. It's in English, it's expensive, it's too complicated, it's a lot of work, lots of paper to do. Then we invest a lot, but we got little in return. So we decided that, okay, let's do something more simple to be a solid step for them to step up. So then we develop our own Thailand Sustainable Event Management Standards that cover every industry, sub-industry within MICE industry, hotels, venue, freight forwarders, contractors. You can certify this. And then we join the index. See, we work backward.
That's okay. That's okay.
Backward. So that we join the index and the index, it's brilliant However, I have to admit that for Gds Index is not, it's not the focus of everything.
No.
So because we work backward.
It's part of
Because
the
it come
journey. It's just
later,
part,
yes.
Yeah.
So, but the intention that I mentioned early, that we want to be in the index because we want to learn, not because we want to be in what rank or got what score. Anyway, it's quite important also, the score, of course, because it's measuring our performance. But to be there to, you know, one day you cannot just walk to Copenhagen CVB and said, what do you do? You know, can I learn from you? But as a destination, when you get into the index, you have platform to learn from Copenhagen, to learn from Goyang, to learn from Singapore, to learn from many other destinations. That is the key purpose of us being in the index. So then we get in the index. We continue all the projects that we have done, and then COVID hit. It's another era that we have to mark as the era. This is quite interesting time for us as the CVB, that when everything stopped, but your operators are dying, you as the CVB, what do you do? So that's quite those are quite two interesting couple of years. So we had the plan of, you know, in immediate action, how can we help them immediately? Midterm action, that we foresee that this COVID thing is not going to stay for 6 months or 1 year. It's going to stay a little bit longer than that. And what's next in the long term? So in the long term, everybody knows, you know, the immediate term is quite interesting.
It is.
Because we have been working so hard with the government and the military and a lot of other ministries. Nui was there, like sitting in the COVID war room every day, because we try to find job for our for our DMC. You know, when people need to get in like high rank or VIP group or high value business group that needs to get into Thailand, they have to have like specific professional sort of like DMC to take care of them. But those DMC have to learn about all the hygiene and so on. So we did that. We as the CVB, we got into the government to get some business at least for our DMC. Anyway, so when it recovers, Thai MICE operators are now like high on weed, you know, high on enjoying the coming back of the business. Like they are high on weed. Now nobody cares about sustainability because my business is coming back. So that's another challenge. And then a bit before this and now, carbon footprint is something that the world is talking about. It's not only talking, but actioning about it, have targets on it after the COP26. Actually, Gds have done carbon footprint since 2013, 10 years ago. Yes,
Fantastic.
but didn't work because we were too early. It's too difficult, too complicated, too much for our MICE operators. MICE operators or tour operators, as you guys know, they were like artists. And you are talking about emission factor with those artists. Nobody cares. But now, here it comes. And the more challenge of Thai MICE operators that they have bad impression about the carbon footprint already because we introduced it too early.
So your challenge is now.
Yeah, it's another challenge. Yeah, how can we gain their attention back? How can we make them move faster or have good impression about doing this? That's another challenge. And from now on, we still do all the things that we have done since 2008. Nothing has dropped, but we have more and more and more things to do. And in the future, definitely we aim for net zero carbon event. And we are aiming for something we call Earth Point. That's going to change the whole economic system in our industry to be something as a dream ecosystem. It's a huge project and we have to spend time on that. So that's our journey. You can see that we need a lot of resilience and plan and actions and flexibility to answer to that. We need a lot of engagement from the GDS Index. We have to talk between so many buildings, and we're still figuring out to fix that because it's a lot. Then so we still keep moving on and learn from everybody here. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I'll come back up here. I'm keen to hear a little bit more because you shared yesterday, but really keen to hear a little bit more about this carbon tool that you've got. So perhaps, because obviously we've got an online audience, perhaps you can share a little bit more about this tool and what it is.
I will skip this gastronomy thing, and if we have time, we can talk about it later. Okay, the global warming. I just have one slide for this.
That's okay, yeah.
Tell us a little bit more. When we talk about net zero carbon neutral, my question is, do you know what's the difference? What exactly it is, which I think it is really, really, really important that we're on the same page around the globe, that what they are, what it is. And that's why I have to have partners engaging again with one of, we call Thailand Greenhouse Gas Organization. Is also another government organizations that they are like geek, scientists people to tell us what's the different. So here it comes, the 3 different carbon events of carbon reduction or net zero carbon. The global thoughts, we're talking about this. They're using the same tool, is that measuring the bad, measuring the emission that we produce from organizing our events. And to calculate this, it's complicated. It's not easy, I'm telling you, it's not easy. It's complicated, it's have to be offset, and it's used a lot, it's used money, it's your budget, financial, you have to offset, you buy credits, you have to have verifier, you have to have consult, blah, blah, blah. And as I mentioned earlier, it gives a quite negative impression to the operators. So we were sitting down and thinking that how can we bring back that positive impression about carbon footprint. And in theory, organizing an event should not be like you organize it as you wish and then measure the carbon footprint and then offset it. It means that if you have money, you can have, you've learned nothing. You've done not any effort to avoid releasing carbon footprint. So that you have to reduce it first. And organizing sustainable events, as Guy mentioned earlier, it's the key of minimizing or avoiding, reducing carbon footprint from your events. So we were thinking that what if we can measuring the good, the carbon footprint that we can avoid. So we sort of like develop another tool, the carbon reduction events or the carbon avoidance calculator to measure the good or the result that you have done good in your sustainable event. And this is not to, you cannot use this amount of carbon footprint to offset. No, because it's the good, the carbon footprint that you avoid. But the result can answer a lot of pain point. It's easy, it's fun, it's create a lot of awareness, it's encouraging operators and participants to do sustainable events. It can also use as the communication tools or communication information after the event, that the event owner can engage with their visitors or their participants. The corporates, the event owner, can also use that to report. If they don't want to go that far to the carbon neutral event or net zero carbon, they can use this to report in their sustainable achievement. So here is the picture from different events that, in the tools, in the package, in the kit, we have, if you register in our system, you will get the sustainable event guideline, how to organize a sustainable event. Second, you will get this logo, this logo in the middle. It said sustainable event by Thailand Convention and Exhibition Bureau. It's like the event owner, the event organizer can use it as they can put in their materials already.
Like a quality assurance.
To commit that I will organize sustainable events. And then they calculate, they get calculator, they calculate, and then we have the tools of the achievement impact, this template. When you calculate it, it will automatically create the template for you. And after that, you can put up on the screen, you can take, the VIP and speakers of the event can take photo in front of this and send it out as a press release, blah, blah, blah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and we get even the script for the MCs in the event, that how to tell people that you have low carbon events. So that's the thing.
Fantastic. And one thing I just want to add, tell us what some of our carbon savings were yesterday, because we got rid of plastic bottles in the room and we're using
mugs. We're using this
put it into the tool yesterday.
Calculator to calculate the carbon footprint that we avoided from not using plastic bottles. And yesterday we got 14 egg sandwiches eaten, which reduce also carbon footprint because it doesn't have meat in it. Approximately how many kg? Okay, 27 kilo carbon emission equivalent avoided. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Actually, this was not planned, but if it's planned, the organizer, like Goyang City, can have your team check every day that the transportation logistics system, that who walked, who come by taxi, who's like, and you will get more. So we avoided 27 kg carbon equivalents, which is equal to planting approximately 2 trees.
How great is that?
Yes, and actually it's more because we haven't include that we walk here. We haven't include
other savings as well.
You're not using paper here. We're not using backdrops that we have to throw them away. So
there's a lot of things that can be
there are many things
there
that, but it's not that difficult as the full carbon emission calculator. So this is, it's sort of like, that carbon neutral event tools that we launched from 13 to 22nd, 9 years. we spent $143. We got registered event, 26 events. With these tools, only 8 months, using only $1,200, we got 121 event registers. So this is the awareness that we and the impression we want to bring back from.
This is the work that you've created. This is what you've been achieving over the last 10 years
Yeah.
or more. All right, I'm very mindful of time because we've heard from all three of you, but I would like to hear from each of you very quickly, just one thing for any destination that's wanting to start their sustainability journey or have started but not sure where to go next. What's one thing that you would tell a destination that's thinking about their sustainability journey or just getting started? What's one piece of advice from each of you very quickly?
Talk to Guy.
Talk to GDS.
Yeah, talk to GDS.
Start that journey. Peter?
You can do everything at one time.
Mm-hmm.
I can recommend one by one. So if you started in quite some achievement,
Yep.
that will be a driver and a motivation too.
Yep.
For the project and for the things to do.
Cheting?
For me, it's definitely higher management buy-in, because if you don't have the blessing from the top, you can't do much. Yeah, so get the buy-in first.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much for sharing more information about your sustainability journey. Big round of applause, everyone. All right, now I'm going to hand back over to Guy.
And thank you very much. It was a wonderful panel. Thank you. It's so inspiring. I get so inspired to see the stories coming out. And what is amazing, see the jump in performance of what Peter's done. Singapore are rolling out at such a kind of strategic level. I've rarely seen that, and so there's going to be massive change in performance through Singapore and change in impact. And then what Pat's achieved, I mean, Pat, when you look at the GDS Index, all different categories, right? And so your result is a combination of everything. But if you look at Pat's DMO, destination management category, it's better than Copenhagen. Really? Yeah. So it's really it's amazing, the work you've done. So well done. You really are a global leader. Thank you. Yeah. Sounds good. Okay, guys, we're going to bid farewell to our friends online. Before we do that, if you would like to know anything more about this work, we have the GDS Academy. If you're a DMO, you can look at the GDS Certificate in Regenerative Destination Management. It starts next Thursday. There is one place left, or two places maybe. So if you're interested, you can go on that. But then there are other classes. An amazing course that Jessica leads on impact strategy and management, which we've done all around the world. There's a great core. Got some storytelling or communications, maybe we should call it. And there's a course on regenerative management and other things coming out soon. So thank you online. Take care. We will bid you farewell. Big wave from everyone here to the camera. Ooh, where are you? Camera are we looking at? Bye-bye. Okay. 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 Good.